Hey, I'm Lorelei, registered dietitian nutritionist. Welcome to my kitchen. So this video is probably well overdue. This is a follow-up video for my how to make seitan video. So I showed you how to make seitan from white flour, and then I never told you how to actually prepare seitan to eat in a meal. So that's what we're gonna do today. So I actually have already done the main steps of making seitan. I mixed the flour in the water. I used my mixer this time. You of course can knead by hand, but it was a little faster for me to do it. And I washed the dough. So now I have basically a ball of gluten, which is what is left after you wash all the starch out of this. So this is a ball basically of protein. The protein that is in wheat, that is in flour, is called gluten. And I've had actually a few people ask me some protein questions. So as a dietitian, I thought I would quiz Joe on his protein knowledge.
I feel like I've walked into a quiz ambush.
You've been ambushed.
Oh man.
This is not yet seitan, but it is the gluten that will become
super appetizing.
Yeah, it's small. I used 4 cups of flour, can you believe it?
No.
It's like a cup left, because most of what's in flour is starch, so when we want to refine it down to the protein, it becomes a lot smaller. I prepared some quiz questions here.
All right, what's my prize if I win?
Dinner.
So I will starve if I don't win?
Probably not, but I'm not keeping track. You can play along as well. See what your protein knowledge is like.
I don't know proteins. I only know amateur adults.
Okay, that's a pun joke. Give yourself a second to catch up.
And I think I get a prize for that.
For coming up with that.
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll see how that works out for you.
I'm not sensing a prize.
We talk about nutrition all the time at home. Joe pays a little bit of attention. Let's see how much he actually picks up.
All right, let's go.
All right. So, let's see. Well, let's just start with the 3 macronutrients, which I think you already know. This isn't so much a protein question, but what are the other 2 besides protein?
Carbohydrates and fats.
Yeah. So there really are only 3 macronutrients, all of which we need in our diet.
Dropping some knowledge.
Nice. Okay, so how many calories are in 1 gram of protein?
A lot. Less than in fats.
Be specific.
100.
No.
Okay. All right. Why would I know that?
4 calories per gram of protein.
Okay.
What other macronutrient has the same number of calories per gram as protein?
Let's see. Fat.
No!
Carbohydrates.
Good, you got it on the second try.
Fats
Well
have
done.
more.
Fats have more. Fats have 9 grams both protein, and carbohydrates have 4 grams of 4 calories per gram. Oh, this is an interesting one. A lot of people, so here's the thing, a lot of people worry that they're not getting enough protein, so they try to like pack it all into a meal. What is the maximum number of grams of protein that your body can assimilate in like 1 sitting or 1 meal?
Well, it's the digestive process after the meal that I'm assuming, and the rest just get passed through your system if you aren't able to process it.
So what's the max?
In grams, because that's how people eat,
Yes,
measuring out in grams.
Absolutely.
4 grams.
No, that's only, oh no. No, it's more than that actually. So,
Grams are a tiny measurement, and they're metric, and no one uses them.
That's true.
So,
Well,
a 1/4 pounder. How about that?
How many grams of protein are in a 1/4 pounder? Actually, that's probably not completely off the mark. The max that can really get absorbed is somewhere between 20 and 30 grams of protein. I've heard 25. And the reality is like a big 6-ounce steak or something like that is going to have more grams than that. So what does happen is that they all get taken into your body. They all get absorbed, all those grams of protein, but only a certain amount are going to be assimilated into other proteins. So then your body has to break down the protein and get rid of it. And we're on to our next question.
Okay.
What element does protein contain that the other macronutrients do not?
Element from the periodic table.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, it's not going to be carbon, because that's in everything.
Yes.
I think oxygen is also there, all the organic chemicals, so hydrogen, what bonds with that, iron.
No.
Okay.
Nitrogen.
Nitrogen, okay.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Nitrogen is found in protein, but it is not found in carbohydrates or fats.
Great.
So if you are taking in a lot of protein and your body can't use it to build other proteins, it's got to get rid of the nitrogen, because the nitrogen really can't be used the way the other elements in carbohydrates.
Protein's a good fertilizer. It supplies nitrogen.
Well, yeah, sure. This one we actually talked about last night. What are the building blocks of protein?
Amino acids.
Yes.
So why do you give it away that I knew the answer from last night? Why can't I get a win?
Okay, sorry. And amino acids all contain nitrogen. That's their amino group. It has nitrogen in it. How many amino acids are there that are used to make proteins?
There's like, what, 26 or something like that are
You're
recorded.
close.
There's a lot. I don't know, 20 something.
20. Exactly 20.
There you go.
Yeah. And there are other amino acids that have functions in the body, but only these 20 are used to make up proteins. Okay, and name 3.
Lysine, cytokine, adenosine, guanine.
No.
Okay.
These are, adenosine and guanine are nucleotides, actually.
Okay, I think I've
But,
lost,
yes.
so...
What is the difference between an essential and a non-essential amino acid?
Essential you have to take in through your diet. Non-essential you can make on your own.
Yeah, exactly. So, of those 20, 9 of them are essential and the other 11 are non-essential. A couple of the non-essential are conditional, meaning we can only make them from the 9 essential, so if we don't get the 9 essential, we can't make those, but that's the gist of it. So what is the difference between a complete and an incomplete protein? We're actually building to something here.
The complete ones give you all of those 9 that you need.
And the incomplete ones don't give you all 9 essential amino acids. What plant-based protein is considered complete?
Ooh. Soy?
Yep,
Okay.
you got it. You actually probably win. I think you get more than 50%.
All right, yes.
So, yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for playing.
And now you can help me make this seitan.
No, I did my part. I did the quiz.
Okay, good job.
Thanks.
So, seitan.
Joe doesn't help.
Seitan is a plant-based protein. It is made from wheat. Although it is a concentrated source of protein, it is actually not a complete protein. Most grains are missing one, or not missing, but deficient in one amino acid, specifically lysine tends to be deficient in grains. So we want to make sure, although we're getting a lot of protein from this, that overall in our diet we're getting a variety of proteins so that we are also getting all of our amino acids. It's actually not that hard. So beans contain plenty of lysine. They happen to be deficient in methionine. Grains contain plenty of methionine. They happen to be deficient in lysine. So if we eat both beans and whole grains throughout the day, we should have enough of the amino acids coming into our body. Now, animal proteins are considered complete proteins. So if you are someone who does consume meats or eggs or dairy or anything like that, you are probably getting complete protein sources. So this is really only a concern for people who don't eat any animal products. And to be perfectly honest, it's not a very big concern for many people. Unless you're eating a really limited variety of foods, such as you're eliminating all grains, or you never eat legumes, or soy just isn't on your menu, you're probably going to be getting plenty of amino acids. And so really just in general, we just think about the overall protein content of your diet. Other things do contain protein as well. So you can get protein from vegetables. You can get protein from nuts and seeds. Things like that also contain protein. And although they're not great sources of protein, they can contribute. Another little fun fact, quinoa is actually considered a complete protein in that it is sufficient, comparatively speaking, in all 9 amino acids. However, it's not a great source of protein on the whole in that it is a grain. It contains more protein than most grains like rice, but it's not considered like a concentrated protein source. You can get all of your essential amino acids from quinoa, it's just not gonna add up to a ton of protein. So with all of that, we're gonna go ahead and make some seitan, which, as I said, concentrated source of protein because we've pulled all of the protein, the gluten, out of the flour, but it's not a complete protein. The meal I'm gonna make is gonna include some vegetables and a grain to go along with it. we're actually gonna have quinoa to go with this. There used to be sort of a theory that you needed to combine your proteins at a meal in order to be getting all of the amino acids working in your body, and that's kind of since been debunked. For example, rice and beans, which is a great combination because you're getting a grain, you're getting a bean, so you're gonna get all your essential amino acids, but you don't actually have to have those in the same meal for it to work in your body. This has zero flavor to it. It's just a blob of gluten. So I wanted to show you a way that I like to add flavor. I have an assortment of spices here. I've got salt, garlic powder, onion powder, coriander, paprika, and then also some nutritional yeast. And you can just kind of knead that into here, but this is kind of a rubbery network, and it's really actually pretty hard to get the spices really well incorporated. So I am going to put this into the food processor with the spices. Now, when I first read about this option, I was like, but I just spent all the time making up this gluten network. Now I'm gonna break it down with a blade in the food processor. And yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. So a couple things. The main reason why we developed that gluten network is so that as we wash out the starch, the gluten all holds together and doesn't get washed down the drain. So we've already done that, so we don't actually have to worry about keeping the network for that reason anymore. And secondly, even though we're gonna food process this, we're gonna let it sit for a short time afterwards as well. The network will kind of reform, and as we cook it, it will reform. So it will still have a good texture for a meat substitute. So I'm gonna break this into a couple pieces, although if you've got the gluten really well developed, it holds together pretty well. So I'm just gonna pop this in the food processor along with the spices and basically just process until I can see the spices have mixed in.
It actually held together better than I thought it was going to.
After that, I'm gonna pull the seitan out and I'm gonna let it sit for maybe a half an hour to an hour, allowing those bonds to kind of reform within the seitan itself. Then I'm gonna move to my stove. I'm gonna make like a seitan steak today. So the way I'm gonna prepare this is I'm gonna fry it on both sides. Now, when I had earlier, it was kind of a ball, but I find that after I add spices, it tends to kind of flatten out. And if you put it in a pan, it will probably do that. So I'll put a little oil in my pan and then just cook it on one side and it'll kind of flatten out and almost look like a steak. And then after a few minutes and it gets a good brown on one side, I'm gonna flip it over and fry it on the other side. Then, to add even more flavor, I'm gonna simmer it. And I'm gonna simmer it in a little soy sauce and then either a little vinegar, like a balsamic vinegar, or like a red wine, depending on what you want. You could use another, like a white wine vinegar or a white wine, so it'll vary the flavor up a little bit. But I'm gonna simmer in about 2 tablespoons of each. So I found that that was enough to really seep into the seitan. While I'm simmering, I'm also going to add some vegetables to simmer with it, because then we can make up almost like cooking a pot roast. So I'm gonna chop up some onion and some carrots, and I'm gonna probably put some mushrooms in there. Ooh, I have some bok choy. I might put that in there as well. But really, you can do whatever vegetables make sense to you. I think onion or garlic or something as a nice aromatic vegetable is gonna add some flavor as well. But kind of whatever you wanna eat alongside this quote-unquote seitan steak, you can just simmer those in there as well. I'm gonna simmer on one side for, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes, flip it over, and then of course simmer on the other side as well. I'm gonna keep it covered to just keep the steam in there, because part of the cooking of seitan is also steaming. Woohoo! So I think the seitan steak is ready. I'm gonna pull it off of the stove. And it's got all the vegetables cooked in there with it, so we can serve those up as well. But the main focus right now is going to be on this seitan. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to pull it out here, and it kind of does just look like a steak or a piece of meat of some sort. Oh.
Did I hear steak?
Shockingly, here comes
That's not
Joe.
steak.
I know. It's not, but would you know if you didn't know?
Yes.
Oh.
But it does look vaguely steakish.
Okay, we're gonna cut it and make it into kind of some little slices and say, I'm not used to which...
Do you need help?
Yeah, you carve it for me. I'm not used to cutting meats. There you go. Okay, cut some thin slices. Let's see, there we go. All right. Now I did want to mention that I actually tried to do this video earlier, but I had sound issues, but I also had recipe turning out issues because I had found a recommendation that you could actually leave some of the starch in your gluten as you wash it out. Wouldn't wash it out entirely. And I think you can experiment with leaving a little bit of the starch, but I actually found that it tasted kind of gummy when I left the starch in, so I am still trying to get most of it out. There's probably a little residual starch, but I like to try to get the water really clear when I'm washing it out of the dough, if that makes sense. And now we can taste it. Thanks, Joe.
Sure.
Take a little bite.
There you go.
Okay, you can
This
eat
one's
with
for
the
me.
knife. Okay, you'll eat with the knife, like.
That's the carnivore.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, let's see how it is.
Okay.
I think it's very well seasoned. It's not short on seasoning at all. Joe is pondering, hesitating.
It's tasty. I wonder if it'd be better like barbecue sauce or something like that.
I think there's a lot of different ways you could flavor it. I think it's well seasoned right now, so it's not it's not bland.
It's not bland.
The texture is different than meat, but I think it holds up kind of like a meat dish. And we're gonna just eat it like this, sliced with vegetables and quinoa over a bed of quinoa, so we'll make it look a nice presentation. But something like this, if you slice it up like this, it goes really well in a stir fry because it adds a little extra crispness to it.
And that might be what I think this could particularly benefit from.
Because it's simmered, it's not really crisp. I mean, we did fry both sides, but it's not really.
If the edges are like.
And then certainly it would be great with a different kind of sauce, another sauce. If you have any ways that you really like to season your seitan, let me know, because it can be a bit of a challenge. This is just one way, and as you know, in my kitchen, we don't necessarily prescribe to exact recipes. I like to kind of just vary things up and do it to taste and adjust seasonings based on what my palate's in the mood for.
Sure.
Yeah.
You could like teriyaki stir fry or something like that.
Yeah, it really would. So I think you've got options, but we know we got some of the flavor in a couple ways, both by food processing it in and then cooking it in as we cooked it. And I hope you found the discussion on protein interesting. I also have another video on protein, so you can check that out. It's from a while back, but it's kind of like a nutrition education, nutrition science.
Check it out, or I'll do more puns.
Video. Yeah.
Enjoy.
So we're just gonna put together a plate now. I've got some quinoa. This is gonna be our dinner. And then I've got, I have again the onion and bok choy and carrots and mushrooms. And then we're gonna serve up some of the seitan over this quinoa. And then there's a little bit of sauce left in the pan, which we can also drizzle over the top if we need to. So I hope you enjoyed this. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video, if you like this style of video, and let me know what you like about it. This is a relatively new channel, so I'm always looking to see what people really do want to know. So let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel as well. All right, I hope to see you next time. Happy eating, eat well, take care.
Let's cap it at like 5 or so. Let's best of 5.
I've got 12.
See how many you get through.
What is the difference between an essential and a non-essential amino acid? You probably know this one.
Sure. You don't need to preface all of them with you probably know these or you probably don't know these. You can just ask the question.
Hey, welcome. No, that's not how I start these videos. How do I start them? Oh,
Hello and
hey,
welcome.
I'm Lorelei. That's how I start. And then, hey and welcome is for yoga. Hey, I'm Lorelei is for nutrition. Okay.